Peter Kragh is an international cinematographer who captures the natural world in unique ways. Even when he's closer to home, he's out filming.
To be an underwater cinematographer, you need to first of all be a good diver. Then you also need to have a good amount of patience. That one is a little harder. Animals, they don't react well to getting instructions. So you have to, more often than not, wait for them to do their thing. Some of the best diving in the world is actually right here off my doorstep, in California. If you get a good day in the California kelp forest where the visibility is good, it's amazing. It's like diving in an underwater forest. We have rock outcroppings, and we have kelp forest, we have schools of fish, we have deep stuff, we have shallow stuff, and we have a bunch of marine mammals, from seals to sea lions, dolphins, and whales. We basically got a little bit of everything here in California. We have a bunch of predators in all sorts of sizes, from the very minute, microscopic pretty much, all the way up to the occasional great white shark. You don't have to go very far out to see some of these animals.
One of the most common creatures along the California coast is also one of the most deceptive. Giant green anemones may look like flowers, but they're actually carnivorous animals.
The anemone often lives in shallow water, where the light intensity is stronger than it is in the deep water. So the anemone has developed this sunscreen that's green colored that protects them from the light. They're really a strong creature, and they live up to 100 years. Anemones are pretty territorial. They don't easily move around a lot. So another way they have of defending their area is the same technique they use for catching prey. They sting. So they can sting other anemones if they come too close. So one of the ways you realize the anemone, looking as fragile and weak as it is really a strong creature. At low tide, they can be exposed to the sun and the dryness of the air for 6 hours between tides, 12 hours between tides. And they can do this by contracting themselves and expelling some of the excess water. So an anemone underwater will look much larger than an anemone that has been exposed to the air.
Green anemones don't move much. They can stay in the same place for over 50 years. Other invertebrates along the coast may appear stationary, but they're anything but.
Another animal we have here in California that people sometimes encounters just walking around on the beach is the sand dollar. And when we see it on the beach, it's dead. It has typically lost its spine. It'll look white and look somewhat like a silver dollar. When we see the live sand dollars in the ocean, they're all covered in little tiny spines. And underneath, they've got tube feet. And they use the tube feet and the spines together to move over the sand. When you dive down and you see the sand dollars, they look stationary. They don't seem like they're moving. But when you look more careful, you'll see these trails behind some of them, indicating that there's been some kind of movement. But they move so slow that you can't see it. So I've used time-lapse to speed up the process of them moving. And once you speed the time up 20, 40, or 50 times, you can see that they're actually quite alive.
Sand dollars have small, harmless spines. But another denizen in the coastal community is far more spiky and far more ravenous.
Probably the most well-known urchin in California is the purple urchin. They've got spines, they've got tube feet. They've got the most amazing mouth that consists of 5 teeth-like structures called a lantern, which they use for eating kelp, which is their main food source. The urchins eat kelp, so they can exert a tremendous pressure on the kelp forest, and we sometimes get barrens where there's nothing but urchins and all the kelp is gone. And if we get an urchin barren with hundreds of thousands of urchins, it's not just a problem for just now. These urchins can live up to 70 years. So it can be an urchin mouth that needs feeding for another 50, 60, 70 years to go. It could be a long-term problem.
Peter knows where to find urchins. But some sea creatures off the California coast are truly a challenge for even the most experienced underwater cameramen. The Pacific hagfish lives at depths where no human could safely go. He jumped at an extraordinary opportunity to film these complex and rarely seen beasts.
So these hagfish were collected by Scripps for research. And it gave me an opportunity to go down and film an animal that normally lives down at maybe 400, 500, or 600 feet where I can't really go. The hagfish looks a lot like what we associate with an eel, but it actually is a jawless fish, and it's a pretty old species of fish. They will eat any of the things that die maybe in shallow water and fall down, like whales. If we find a whale carcass down in deep water, it's very common to encounter the hagfish feeding there. Whether they look nice or they look ugly is things you can discuss, but the function they have is important. They're basically some of the cleaners of the deep ocean floor.
Every animal in the ocean has its own niche, and each is uniquely fascinating, especially when we get the chance to see them through Peter's expert lens.
The California marine ecosystem is incredibly diverse. It has got almost countless number of species, each of them a master of its own little area. As long as I can get up and put a tank on and get in the water, I'll be out there with a camera filming.